So good evening. Thank you for joining us for this New Mexico 213 meeting. Before we get started, I want to remind everybody that this is a virtual meeting. And so there are a few protocol items that I would like to bring to your attention. If you would mute your microphone during the presentation to prevent background noise while speakers are talking. Also keep it muted while others are speaking to be courteous while they have the floor. If you will turn off your camera, this will help increase bandwidth so that you can see our video better. And at any time during the presentation, you can type your comments into the Zoom chat box. And at the end of our presentation, we will be monitoring those comments that come in, and we will be going to the chat box to read your comments and to respond to them. I want to remind everyone that there is a copy of the presentation available on our project website, which is shown at the bottom on the last bullet here. And after the meeting is complete, we will also post a copy of this video of the meeting on the website as well for you to go back and review if you'd like, or to share with others that may not be able to make the presentation tonight. And now at this time, I would like to turn it over to Mark Salazar, who is our project development engineer from the New Mexico Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Bert. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Salazar. I'm the project development engineer with the New Mexico Department of Transportation. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to attend the New Mexico 213, also known as War Road Corridor Study presentation. Bohannon Houston is the prime engineering design consultant selected to prepare the study phase report and preliminary design of the New Mexico 213 corridor. We appreciate and will take into consideration any input you may have as we continue to develop the study phase report. So thank you again for joining us. And at this time, I'll pass it to Bert Thomas of Bohannon Houston to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Mark. And now we'll begin the pre-recorded portion of the presentation, and we'll return back to the live after the presentation is complete to get your comments and questions. So here is the pre-recorded version.
Welcome to the presentation for the New Mexico 213 corridor study. This is the first public meeting being held for this project. The study is being conducted by the New Mexico Department of Transportation in cooperation with the Federal Highway Administration. The project control number is E100320. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to present to you the findings of our existing conditions analysis and to receive public input on the project. The agenda will include an introduction of our project team, an overview of the project background, a review of our existing conditions analysis, an explanation of the study process and next steps, and at the end, we will have time for you to provide input, feedback, and comments on the project. My name is Bert Thomas. I am the consultant manager for this project. Also helping me with this presentation is Roy Gibson. He is a project manager and design engineer for the project. The New Mexico Department of Transportation staff working on this project includes Mark Salazar, who you heard from earlier during the welcoming remarks. He is a project development engineer for the project and the primary point of contact. Trent Doolittle is the district engineer for District 1. Andres Linen is the technical support engineer, and Harold Love is the engineer support manager for the district. Our consultant team consists of Bohannon Houston Incorporated, which is the engineering company that Roy and I work for. Also on the team is Molson Corbin and Associates, who will be assisting us with the engineering and design. Terracon, who will be conducting the geotechnical investigations. Oaken Consulting Solutions, our environmental specialist on the team, and Cobb Finley, who is responsible for the subsurface utility exploration. Let me give you a little information about the project background. This project is New Mexico 213, starting at the Texas state line, which is at the bottom of this map, and proceeds north for approximately 3 miles to the intersection of New Mexico 404. To many locals, this road is also known as War Road. The early planning for this corridor began several years ago when TxDOT El Paso District, in coordination with the NMDOT, conducted a study known as the Northeast Parkway. The Northeast Parkway, when constructed, will provide an alternate route for trucks and passenger cars to avoid congestion on I-10 in the downtown El Paso area and allow connectivity around the northeast side of El Paso. The new corridor, which is also known as the Borderland Expressway, will tie to New Mexico 213 at the Texas state line. The Borderland Expressway is planned as a 4-lane corridor with grade separations, 5 interchanges, and multimodal facilities. This new corridor is estimated to attract almost 22,000 vehicles per day by the year 2043. More information is available on the TxDOT website about the Borderland Expressway project. Based on this long-range transportation plan for the region, it is important for the New Mexico DOT to plan for the improvements on New Mexico 13 that will be needed to support this regional expansion. It improves connectivity from El Paso to New Mexico 404, and it improves access and connectivity to the community of Chaparral. And now to talk about the existing conditions analysis is your project manager for the New Mexico 213 project, Roy Gibson.
As part of the study process for the project, we have reviewed existing conditions of the current roadway. The existing conditions for the roadway consists of a 2-lane rural highway, 2 12-foot driving lanes, and paved shoulders that vary in width from 6 foot to 8 foot. The roadway contains one singular horizontal curve at approximate milepost 0.11, right at the New Mexico-Texas border. This curve meets the current design criteria. Within the study area, 11 vertical curves exist. 2 of the vertical curves, vertical curve number 6 at approximate milepost 0.94, and vertical curve number 9 at milepost 1.57, fail passing sight distance at posted speed. All vertical curves meet the current design criteria for stopping sight distance.
This highway is classified as a rural principal arterial road. Based on the criteria in the State Access Management Manual, a road with this classification should have a half-mile spacing between full access intersections and no less than 775 feet between driveways, which equates to about 6 or 7 driveways or access points per mile. As you can see from this map, there is a total of 16 access points located in the first 1.25 miles north of the Texas state line. This does not meet the state's current criteria for access management, and this close spacing of driveways could lead to operational problems and possibly safety issues. This is something that will be investigated closely by our team as we consider improvements for this corridor. As part of our existing conditions analysis, we also took a look at the traffic operations, or the capacity analysis associated with the existing two-lane highway. Today, this roadway carries more than 7,900 vehicles in a single day. During the peak periods of any single day, that could be as much as 869 vehicles. That volume represents a level of service B, which means that the existing two-lane roadway has adequate capacity. We also took a look at the 20-year traffic projections. We did this by applying historical growth rates. That means how much the traffic grew over the last 5 to 10 years. And we applied those growth rates moving forward. And with those growth rates applied to 7,900 vehicles, that means in the year 2040, this corridor could carry as much as 9,300 vehicles in a single day. That's almost 1,000 vehicles in the peak hour. Even with 1,000 vehicles in the peak hour period, this roadway will still operate at an acceptable level of service C. However, as I mentioned previously, the one thing that's not taken into consideration yet is the Borderland Expressway improvements and the amount of traffic that may be generated from that corridor that will then reach New Mexico 213. And according to the previous studies done for the Borderland Expressway, the traffic by the year 2040 could increase to more than 20,000 vehicles per day. And that's the reason that we will be considering improvements to New Mexico 213, not only looking at typical growth patterns, but also the additional growth that could come from regional expansion. We also took a look at the safety. We analyzed crash data along New Mexico 213 for the past 5 years, from 2014 to 2018. We took into consideration the crash statistics such as type, frequency, and severity. And then we took a look and compared hotspot crash locations to the roadway characteristics. This is to help us better understand where there might be safety issues on the corridor today, which may drive the need for improvements. The crash rate on this roadway is 120.2 per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. That is higher than the statewide average and higher than the county average for this type of facility. In addition to looking at crash rates and statistics, we will also be using methodologies from the Highway Safety Manual to employ predictive crash analysis. The predictive crash analysis takes into consideration geometry as well as traffic volumes and the roadway characteristics to estimate the crashes based on weighted averages of predicted crash and actual historic crash rates. This will be used to estimate the expected reduction in crashes that may result from the improvements as we look at the different alternatives for this corridor. The top table looks at accident severity, which takes a look at fatality and injury accidents. As you can see in the 5 years of crash history that we evaluated, the fatalities, it was only 2 over the 5-year period, which was 3.8% of the overall crashes. There were 14 injuries, which was a result of almost 27% of crashes. The severity on this road, even though there's not a lot of fatalities or injuries, the severity rate is still higher than the statewide average or the county average for this type of facility. The other thing that we took a look at was the accident types. On the left-hand side of the table at the bottom, you can see the different accident types that were recorded based on the police reports for this area. The highest was angle crashes, which means 2 cars traveling in different directions hitting each other. The next was fixed object, which is usually caused by someone either going off of the road and hitting something on the side of the road, or losing control and hitting something that's outside of the roadway prism. The next highest is rear end collisions, and the one at the bottom, sideswipe collisions. And in this area, we've noticed that those two types of crashes are probably caused by the different types of vehicle users or the different types of users that are on this corridor. This corridor carries truck traffic to the tune of about 14% of the overall traffic are trucks. The truck traffic is interstate traffic getting from interstate to interstate or traveling across states. And so they are trying to get to their destinations as quickly as possible with as little obstruction as possible. The other types of users on this corridor are commuters. People may be going from Chaparral to El Paso or from Anthony to El Paso. And those commuters are trying to get to their destination, get to work in time, or get to school, or get to their place of business in time. And so they're trying to get through this corridor as quickly as possible as well. And then the other user that we see on this corridor are local users. Could be a rancher trying to move from his home to one of his pastures or to one of his properties along the corridor. Or it could be somebody just traveling from one driveway to another, from one neighbor's house to another. And so those local users are not in as much of a hurry as the interstate users or the commuters. And so they may or may not even be traveling at the same rate of speed. They may not even be traveling at the speed limit at that time. And so the different users have different rates of speeds, and they have a different attention that they're working with. And we feel that the rear end collisions and the sideswipe collisions are because of the mixture of those different type of users using this existing 2-lane highway. As we start looking at developing alternatives for this corridor, we'll take these accident types and accident characteristics into consideration as we start evaluating what improvements might be needed along the corridor. The map here shows where those accidents occur. The one on the left shows the crash frequency. So the smaller the dot, the less number of accidents. The larger the dot, the higher number of accidents. The map on the right converts that into what we call a heat map, or a density of where those crashes occur. And as you can see from the year 2014 through the year 2018, the crashes seem to occur more frequently at either the intersection, which is the New Mexico 213-404 intersection, which is shown with the red at the top. It's interesting because a lot of those crashes occurred in our crash histories occurred prior to that intersection becoming a roundabout. When this was a T intersection, the crashes that occurred at this intersection was a lot higher. Once the roundabout was installed at this intersection, the number of crashes reduced significantly at the intersection. The other thing to note with these maps is that the remainder of the crashes primarily occur in the southern portion of the corridor. And so you can see the number of crashes on the left-hand side, the dots, they happen from County Road A74 down to the south towards the Texas state line. And that's, again, the area that we talked about earlier that has a significant amount of driveways. And those are the areas where the intermixing of local traffic, commuter traffic, and interstate traffic occur. And so again, that's the area that we'll be looking at improvements to not only take a look at operational improvements, but also trying to reduce the number of crashes that could occur there and improve the safety. Another thing that's really not documented in the safety or in the crash reports is what we call perceived safety. So even though there may not be accidents occurring at a high number of rates, there's a lot of near misses, or there's a lot of drivers that are uncomfortable because of maybe somebody passing them or somebody coming up on them from behind at a high rate of speed. And so that perceived safety is also something that needs to be evaluated. And that is usually gathered from public input. So if you guys have any input about safety concerns within this corridor, we would like to hear that from you.
Existing drainage patterns in the region generally flow from west to east. Total watershed area is approximately 6,300 acres. The Franklin Mountains form the western boundary of this watershed. After leaving the Franklins, flows travel through relatively flat scrub brush plains until they cross New Mexico 213. There are 20 crossing structures within the study area. Most are concrete box culverts, ranging in size from a single barrel 3-foot by 3-foot concrete box culvert up to a 12-barrel 6-foot by 4-foot concrete box culvert. 2 of the crossings are 24-inch corrugated metal pipes. Several of the crossing structures have minor disposition on upstream end and scour at the downstream outlets. Most crossing structures are in good condition, however. As part of the existing conditions analysis, the design team will be coordinating with all utility companies to verify the locations of all their existing utilities, but also discuss plans for expansion or relocation. These companies include CenturyLink, Conterra Broadband, El Paso Electric, Kinder Morgan, Magellan Midstream, New Mexico Gas Company, and Sprint.
Our corridor study also takes into consideration environmental resources in accordance with the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA. This project is expected to have a categorical exclusion, which is the environmental document that will be reviewed by the New Mexico Department of Transportation, MBLM, as well as FHWA. It looks at biological resources, cultural resources, and it also takes into consideration air quality and hazardous materials. On the biological, there will be a ground survey done for threatened and endangered species. Our initial research has not shown any concerns in terms of biological resources that could be potentially impacted by this corridor. The cultural, there's 3 known cultural resources within the project limits, and also the historic War Road Bridge and some archaeological sites associated with those 3 known cultural resource sites. We will do a complete survey for the current conditions and evaluate which of those resources need to be further investigated as part of the environmental documentation for the project. Air quality, this area is under the El Paso MPO, and so we will need to follow the air quality conformity associated with the El Paso MPO requirements. And then we will also take a look at the potential for any hazardous materials. We know that there's one site that's just outside the study corridor, but we'll also investigate the rest of the corridor for any potential hazardous material spills or hazardous material contamination. That concludes our findings for the existing conditions. Now let me talk about the process we are following for this corridor. The study is being conducted in accordance with the NMDOT location study procedures, which were developed to comply with the NEPA requirements. The study process includes an initial evaluation of alternatives, a detailed evaluation of alternatives, and an environmental investigation. We are at the beginning of this process. We have just finished the evaluation of the existing conditions and are going to start looking at the development of potential improvement alternatives. We still have to complete the detailed evaluation of alternatives and the environmental analysis before we can tell you what the proposed improvements will be for this New Mexico 213 corridor. I also want to point out that this process includes continual public involvement through a comprehensive public outreach program from start to finish. The study process is only a portion of the overall development project. As you can see from the diagram on the right, once the evaluation of alternatives is complete, we still need to complete the environmental documentation, preliminary engineering, and final design before the New Mexico DOT can start any construction on this corridor. As shown by the blue highlighted circle, and as I mentioned previously, we are in the Phase A stage of this development process, which is known as the initial evaluation of alternatives. The NMDOT and our team want you, the public, to be part of this process from the very beginning. We want your input and your feedback during every step of the way. We have presented you this evening with our assessment of the existing conditions. We want your input on our analysis. Do you agree with our findings? Are there other items we should consider? Is there anything we missed that you observe as you drive this corridor? Our next step is to start the evaluation of alternatives, which is Phase B in this process chart. We will be looking at the pros and cons of each of the alternatives to determine the benefits of each and to determine a prudent alternative to build and one that will most feasibly address the concerns and mitigate the issues in this corridor. If you have any ideas that you want us to consider, we want to hear from you. After we conduct our evaluation of alternatives, we will bring our findings and results back to you through another public information meeting similar to this one to get your comments. And once your comments are addressed and we recommend the acceptable alternative, we will start on the preliminary and final design and work with the NMDOT on the development of the plans for implementing the proposed improvements for this corridor. Here's an overview of the schedule and next steps. We are done with the evaluation of the existing conditions. We are starting on the evaluation of alternatives, which will be done sometime the middle of next year. We will have a draft report ready for review about the summer of 2021 and an environmental document a few months after that. We will take the next couple of weeks to gather comments provided by you, the public, as well as other key project stakeholders. We will complete the evaluation of alternatives and environmental investigations, and then hold a second public information meeting sometime the middle of next year. Once the preferred alternative is selected, we will begin the preliminary and final design. This could take anywhere from 6 to 12 months. And then the NMDOT will be ready to take this project to construction. The goal of the NMDOT is to have construction activity starting on this corridor as early as possible. That concludes our presentation. And now it's time for you to provide input and give us your feedback and comments on this project. This can be done by going to our project website, which is the project.bhinc.com/NM213, or by sending an email to the project email at newmexico13@bhinc.com. You can also provide us your input by calling 505-923-3340 and speaking to one of our project team members, or leaving a message. If you prefer to send something in the mail, please send it to the attention of the New Mexico 213 project team, Bohannon Houston Incorporated, 7500 Jefferson Street Northeast, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87109. The first public involvement meeting was held tonight. The second public involvement meeting will be held at the end of Phase AB, which, as I mentioned before, will be sometime in the middle of next year. Our goal is to establish and maintain a consistent flow and exchange of information. We will accomplish this by posting information on the project website and providing you the opportunity to provide us input through that project website. If you go to our website, you will find an interactive project map. You can provide specific comments at locations along the corridor by using the tools on that interactive project map, or just provide general comments on that project map as well. Within the project website, you will find our contact information, and we are always open to receiving input from you through that website. Your input helps us make this corridor better, and we're hoping that we can work to identify issues or concerns that you have so that our team can develop solutions that will lead this project into the future.
That concludes our pre-recorded portion of the presentation. I want to remind everybody, as shown on this screen, that to provide your input tonight, you can type your comments in the Zoom chat box. You can raise your hand using the Zoom function, or you can send us a text or call us on the number listed here. All of that will be active tonight. If you want to provide comments after tonight, then you can provide us additional comments by going to the website. You can send us an email. You can call us on the phone number listed here, or you can send us comments via the regular email. While we're taking your comments tonight, we will have an interactive map from the website up and running for us to take notes on, and so you can see how it works. And now I'll turn it over to Melanie, and she's going to show you the project website page, and she will show you how to navigate to the bottom of that page to get to our website interactive map. I want to thank everybody for listening to the presentation, and now it's your turn. And I will turn it over to Denise. She will be looking at the chat box and letting us know who has provided information in the chat box, and watching for anyone who raises their hands so we can call on you for your presentation or your comments on tonight's presentation.
Thanks, Bert. I'm Denise Ayton with Bohannon Houston, and we're really happy to have all of you here this evening. I just want to remind you where the chat box is located. It's down on the information border on the bottom. So if you want to go in there, you feel free to type your comments in there. And we do already have a question. Mario Gomez has asked, is the bridge in Anthony going to be remodeled?
So I'll answer that. This project is concerning the New Mexico 213 project, which is from the Texas state line to Chaparral. So this project will not be doing anything at the Anthony interchange. However, there is a project that is ongoing with the New Mexico Department of Transportation that will be reconstructing the I-10 New Mexico 404 interchange at Anthony. And I believe the construction on that will be starting early next year. The project already went to bid, and contractor has been selected and awarded the contract. And as soon as they get ramped up and started, they will begin on the construction of that interchange.
Thank you, Bert. Are there other questions? Please just write it in the chat to everyone and I'll read it out loud so we can get an answer for you.
And it looks like Representative Willie Madrid is asked if he can say a few words, Denise.
Absolutely.
I'd like to say first and foremost, thank you for a great presentation over something that's really given, some outlook for Chaparral and District 53. I can't tell you how important this is in our development process, and I'm sorry that there wasn't more people to attend, but I'll tell you that's the missing link, and yet I'm the link that links us all together. So from the DOT end, great job. This is really going to be monumental in the way we operate here in Chaparral and help the growth process that's happening. And the statistics that you gave were really important to the support of what I think has really been historic issue of a problem that's been missed. So I think that we're taking a great step, and whatever I can do in the legislation process, let me know. I'm here at your access and here to work for you. So thank you guys. And I hope I can ask of a favor, and that is to have you guys maybe present a couple more times, and I'll do it again, because this is a town hall type meeting that Chaparral deserves to know. And I've had a great response in my reelection that people were really interested in this process. So I apologize. I'm still working that link of getting the people connected. And you can tell by the way, it was a very tight race in my reelection. So I have to look at it in the way I always do. And that's positive. That just tells me what I need to do to get it over some more, and that's a good thing, because at the end of the day, I'm not working for the parties. I'm working for the people. So great job, everybody. Thank you for doing this. And I'll be in touch with you guys as well. Let me know what I can do.
Thank you, Representative Madrid. We appreciate you being here tonight and supporting the project and supporting the community the way that you do. And we look forward to working with you in the future as we look for money to build this project. So thanks again for being here tonight, and thank you for your support.
Thank you.
We have another question here from Trevor Ashby. Is additional right-of-way anticipated to accommodate improvements?
Trevor, I'll field that question. And right now we're early in the stage. As I said, we're barely at the initial evaluation of alternatives. So we haven't really defined what potential improvements might be. But as we look at this, there's a possibility that additional right-of-way may be needed. There's a possibility at the north end for where the existing roundabout is at, that if we do any type of additional improvements in there, right-of-way may be needed. There's also a possibility that on the southern end, as we take a look at doing any type of improvements to help with the access management and providing good access to the adjacent property owners, that there may be some either right-of-way acquisition or easements or agreements in place with those different property owners to make sure that we can provide them safe and adequate access. So it's a little early to say yes or no. However, as we develop these alternatives, we will be looking at the difference in right-of-way impacts between each of the alternatives and weighing that impact against the benefits associated with the operation and safety.
Taking a look there, if there's any other questions coming in. I know, Bert, during the presentation, you mentioned the idea of perceived safety, and you asked if anybody had any comments on that. Does anybody have any information or perspective they want to share about perceived safety along the corridor?
And again, if you are unable to provide comments tonight or thinking about what you need to say and want to give that information to us later, please remember you can always go to the website and provide us comments through the website, either on the interactive map or on the website itself, or just send us an email. So please, if you think of anything, don't hesitate to contact us. Also wanted to remind everyone that the website will have this presentation available. If you have meetings that you would like to share this information, you're welcome to use the website information at those neighborhood meetings or at the community meetings. And if you are in need of additional presentations or wish to talk to any of the project team members, feel free to reach out to us and we will be happy to accommodate those additional meetings and additional presentations if necessary. And please share this information with your neighbors and with your community members so that they can see more about this project.
And just following up on Trevor's comment, some of the property around the project does belong to the Bureau of Land Management, which I'm aware you represent. We will be in coordination with BLM on all further projects and listed as part of the stakeholders. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me personally, Trevor. Thank you for attending.
And it looks like Josh Holguin with the New Mexico DOT would like it if people had a chance to just put their name and affiliation in the chat box. I know that you registered, but it just helps us get a little bit more information about who's here. That would be awesome.
Thank you for that reminder, Josh. Yes, please, if you don't mind putting your name in before you log off tonight, that would be helpful.
And feel free to send it to everyone or if, yeah. That sounds great.
All right, not seeing any more comments. I know that our district engineer is on the line. I didn't know if Mr. Doolittle, if you would like to make any comments at tonight's meeting or not.
Sure, Bert, I'll take a few minutes. I just want the community to know and the participants to know that this corridor along with the 404 section is important to us as a DOT. It's extremely concerning, the safety statistics that Bert shared in the presentation shared with you all. He mentioned the Northeast Parkway that's taking place as part of the TxDOT project. We were actually in the process of designing the 404 and 213 corridor and studying it before the Borderland Expressway became a reality because of the safety issue. We have pursued safety funding. We're pursuing border and freight funding for these two corridors. So, our commitment as the DOT to the community is that we're going to find a way to build these projects. I know tonight is focusing on the 213 segment, which would be phase 3. Phase 1 is the bridge that Bert mentioned earlier. Phase 2 is the widening of the 404. And then this would be the third phase. And then subsequently, if we have to do improvements at the 404 and 213, if funding doesn't allow, that would be a fourth phase, but we are pursuing money for that one as well. So again, I just want to commit to the community. I want to commit to the representative. Your support at the Capitol will be important as we move forward seeking funding. But we are committed to building this corridor regardless of what happens with the Borderland Expressway and the TxDOT portion. So I encourage you to be extremely involved in the public input process. If you have any comments, please submit them to BHI so we can capture, your concerns, especially the perceived concerns that were brought up. Knowing what you all experienced with the traffic and the truck bypassing the downtown work in El Paso, but your input is important to us. So if you have anything else, please provide that to them. And we look forward to working with you all and finding a way to construct this project. Thank you, Bert.
Thank you, Mr. Doolittle. I appreciate that. Thank you. Not seeing any more comments coming across on the chat box or anybody raising their hand. With that,
I'll just reiterate one more time, Bert, though, how helpful this interactive map is. It's really easy. You've seen Melanie do it. If you can get to the website, feel free to put your comments right in there, and you can put them location specific. You can just put them on the side, so it's a really helpful way. it takes the place of being able to sit in the room and draw on a map. Since we can't do that these days, this is the best we can offer, but we really do want to hear from you.
Thank you, Denise. Mark Salazar, would you like to make any closing comments?
Sure. Thank you, Bert. And also, again, thank everyone. I should thank everyone for attending. Thank you for your input. And we look forward to working with you as we further develop this project. So that's all I have for now. Now, be safe and please have a good evening.
Thank you, Mark. And I'm going to go ahead and stay on the line for another 10 minutes, but the meeting is now concluded. So thank you for attending tonight. You can drop off as you'd like. If anyone has anything or thinks of anything within the next 10 minutes, I will stick around to listen in. And thanks again. Have a good night. And drive safe.
Melanie, can you show them how to put comments on one more time as they're leaving? Josh has asked if maybe you can do another example of that, where you go up to the top and just, yeah. She's putting on a safety concern now, and it'll pop up and you just have to write a little note. Can be as simple as, yes, safety concern, and put your email in and add the comment. You can fill out the additional information if you'd like, but you don't need to. You can put a picture in if you want. And then people, exactly, if the note is already there, it can be as easy as going over there and saying, oh, I agree with that comment, and you like that comment, and that's an additional way to give your comments along the corridor. But if you disagree, you can also put dislike that. And the little black circles with the eye in it just are identifying the milepost along the corridor, just to provide a little reference point. Thank you, Melanie.
I see Ray entered his name in the chat box. Good to hear from you, Ray. Glad you joined us tonight.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. One of the things I'd like to offer, and I can call you tomorrow, is to expand the reach of your public reach. I can take these live meetings, these Zoom meetings as you're doing them, and I could make sure that they're broadcast to the public on Facebook and YouTube. So even though people don't come to the Zoom meeting, they can still watch them, wherever they are, because a lot of people just don't understand all this, or want to get involved in all this technology. They just want to see it, and then they get excited at the last minute. They see it there and they'll just jump into the meeting to watch it. So I can probably expand it, and you'll wind up getting at least in the hundreds and maybe thousands, as opposed to the 20s and 30s.
Great. I'll give you a call tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit more about it. I appreciate that, Ray. Thank you.
All right. You're very welcome. Thank you.
May I comment on that?
Yes,
Representative Madrid, Bert Thomas, I think what Ray's hitting on is really a key point for something that I talked about already, and that's a link. and getting people connected. I, for whatever reason, out here in this particular district of mine, find that I get a better connectivity with the people through Facebook.
Yeah.
And I've spent a lot in my reelection, and I rank real high comparative to others in my area in the way I get results. So what does it say? It says everybody has an iPhone. and that's where it's made a big difference. So I think that's a great idea. I think I can't advocate more than say, please keep me in the loop on that conversation as whatever you guys talk about over the results. But I think it's a real good angle for us to try for.
We sure will. I'll get with Ray and see if we can get some links up on Facebook and get the social media working to help us, as well as our project website. So thank you, Representative Madrid.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to reiterate that, we will be putting a YouTube video up on the project website tomorrow that has the entire presentation that will be available, both in the English and the Spanish version. And we have been coordinating with the Chaparral community Facebook, so we'll continue to push that, as well as coordinate with the NMDOT Facebook, etc. But anything that anybody can do to grab those links and continue to share them, we would be so grateful. It really helps out.
Yes. Yeah, that's good, Josh. Yeah, I like the idea of trying to broadcast it live next time when we come back for our second meeting. That would be awesome. We'll take you up on that and figure out how to get that coordinated ahead of time. Thanks, Andres. Have a good evening. Looks like we're down to just our team at this point, so I don't think we need to stick around much longer. I appreciate everybody's participation and assistance, and really helping us get prepared for this. Worked out good. Good job, team. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Josh. Of course, Mark and Roy, thanks for your input on all of this. And Wyatt, your team, you and your team members as well there at Molson Carbon. Appreciate the partnership. And we'll see what kind of comments come in, and then we will proceed to start looking at the alternatives analysis. So,
Good.
with that,
Thank you, Bert. Thank you, everyone.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone.